Hey there, it's John Anthony Francis Wilcox, and today is Saturday, the 18th of January, 2025. I hope you're all doing well. I am a mere shadow of myself today because last night I thought, I'll go to sleep a little earlier. Went to sleep like, I don't know, quarter to two, something like that, which is early for me. And after much tossing and turning, my stomach ended up keeping me up till after 6. So I have not had a lot of sleep. Thankfully, there's not a lot for me to do today that I choose to do, I suppose, beyond this, and I'll cook something later. It's also been raining profusely, which doesn't do my joints any good. So, what should we talk about? Let's talk about a couple of friends. Been talking to my friend Lori, uh, who I first knew as a publicist. But soon, sometimes you meet people and you could just tell, I'm going to know this person a very long time. And I think at this point, maybe this is the year we've known each other 30 years, something like that. And our friendship just gets better and better and better and better. She is such a dear friend and an incredibly sweet person that has an unusual thing that not everyone has. She has this voice that has a lilt to it that always makes me smile. If I hear Lori's voice, I just smile. She's one of the favorite people in my life. So we've been chatting on the phone. We've been texting on my Fred Flintstone Obama phone, and there you go. So did that. I was very pleased yesterday. I talked to my dear friend Suzanne, who's been very ill, and we haven't talked much in the better part of a month. Um, but we got to catch up some yesterday. Not for very long because, like she said, um, she's been feeling better, so she can stay up about 4 hours a day when it's been two, because she's been very ill and just kind of knocked out. And I've worried about her. I always worry about her. But hopefully she is on the road to mending. And we had a lovely conversation talking about this and that, as we so often do. And she was talking about how, you know, she wants to come visit me and stuff like that. Good stuff. That's all good stuff. Um, my nephew Dave is in the hospital. I don't know if I had mentioned that before, but he had to have back surgery and have rods put into his back. And he's in the hospital now in rehab there until he can walk up and down steps. He needs to be able to do that for where he lives. So he can't do that yet. So probably another week or so, but he's on the mend, and I'm very grateful to God for that. As he's a good kid. I say kid. He's gonna be. How old is Davey gonna be? He's gonna be 48 this year. Time flies. Um, what else? I don't know. A bunch of religious stuff that I don't usually share with people, so I'm not going to share it. I know that the two things people don't want to hear from me on here are about religion and politics. So I talk about them as little as possible. However, and it's no, it's not either of those. This is a good chance for me to mention that while Monday is looked at as many things, it's also Martin Luther King Day. And Martin Luther King was one of my heroes. I always thought he was a very just man and a very forward thinking man and a very spiritual man. And I thought his death was one of the huge tragedies in my life that to be alive during that. very sad day. I don't know how he'd look at the world nowadays. I think he'd still be very sad because we've moved maybe an inch in the direction he would have liked. So, anyway, Monday we celebrate Dr. King, um, and there's that. So, what else? I was thinking, you know who I was thinking about? I was thinking about my friends Mark and Belinda Sinnott, who I had the good fortune of meeting through Mark's dad, because we both are cartoonists, and I met him, and so is Mark, you know, and Belinda's quite an artist too, so a lot of art going on there. But over the years, they became family, except for the fact that I don't argue with them as I do with my family. So they're like the bonus club of family. And both have always treated me very well. And I hope that I have returned the favor in that. Only they could tell you. I sure love them both a lot. They're family to me. Beyond that, um, it's interesting. I'm going to tell you a foolish thing. So at Christmas time, a bunch of people, friends and family, gave me cash. And I've been using that cash to pay my bills and household things, and nothing for me. But Tuesday I got a late Christmas gift from someone that was more cash. And this time I am in fact going to get an Amazon card and buy myself some stuff. My first impulses I'm glad I didn't follow up on, because I was going to get this drum thing, a digital drum thingy with pads and everything. It was like $80, which isn't bad. But I thought, I have a perfectly good drum machine over there that I can get pretty much the same stuff out of. I just got to put a little more work into it. So I'm going to do that. Uh, However, I am going to buy a ridiculous blue cube because I want it, but it's only $13. Um, I'm feeling the urge more and more to work on some music again. I've kind of been lax with that because other things have gotten in the way, and kind of the mental space and the emotional space for that. Um, you have to be there. One of the things that I thought was a great thing, if there's a thing that I enjoy about being, quote unquote, retired, is in the heart of when I was coloring comic books. The toughest thing and the most draining thing was when you have a deadline, you have to be creative no matter what. The first time I had a kidney stone, as I was passing it, I came from the hospital, it still hadn't passed, and I was in excruciating pain, but I came home and I still colored because deadlines don't care. They don't care about your physical condition. So, but the good thing is now with creativity is I'm only creative when I feel creative, and that's very freeing. And I apologize if I've talked about any of this before, but I don't think everyone, pretty much anyone, watches everything I do. By the way, on that level, I mentioned last week that I was starting to do poetry. And I put the first one up, and I've gotten a very nice reaction to it. So thank you to the people that enjoyed that, and I'm gonna do it every week, like clockwork, or reasonably similar to clockwork. Um, and I enjoyed doing that, and I'm glad that other people are enjoying it. I think poetry is a wonderful thing, and I'm starting to sound like a PBS infomercial kind of thing, whatever kind of bizarre redundancy that is, because it's my mind. And I'm thinking about noodles and cheese right now, and also how much I miss having some good cherry jello. I have some cherry jello that I could make. So um, I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's other stuff that has gone on, and I know I say that a lot. And what happens is 9 times out of 10, after I finish this, I go, "Oh, I didn't mention, this thing." Uh, no, no. I think the. Oh, yes. So I got in a book. I do these things sometimes that a friend pointed me at, where you fill out surveys, and then after you do so many surveys, they give you credit. And they gave me Amazon credit. And I saw that Penguin Books a couple of years back had done these new, nice comic book reprints in color. And I got the Avengers one that had like Avengers 1 through 4. And then I forget, it skipped around here and there up to, I think the latest one was 83 from 1970. And the reproduction is very nice, very crisp. Color is the original color. They didn't fool around with it. And it's all great, except there's an editor and other people doing these several introductions. And I tell you, it infuriated me because it's like, well, they're complaining how the books do not fit in with today's views on contemporary society. And A, they're comic books. B, they're comic books. And C, it was the 60s and 70s. Of course, people don't write and think like they do now. But it's almost saying, here are these books, and they're wonderful, Most of this was written by either Stan Lee or Roy Thomas. And you had Jack Kirby in there, Don Heck, and John and Sal Buscema. And different inkers. I think Tom Palmer inked one thing, George Klein inked a few things, Frank Giacoia, etc. And even that, they're like, well, it's like they're saying it was kind of mediocre until John Buscema came in. And I mean, that's one person's view, but I really shouldn't be reading that in that collection. Have your personal view be your personal view. I found that it was some wonderful comics that were then had been infected with non-professional points of view. So nice and crisp though, and unfortunately, again, it's like they were almost put together with the intent of being able to talk about social aspects of things. I go back to there was a book in the 70s by a man named Les Daniels. I never found out what else he did, but he did this wonderful book called Comics with an X. And it had some of the history of comics, but then it focused mostly on underground comics. And my favorite thing in it was this little panel, and it's two kids walking, and one's holding like a comic book, and one says to the other, that was the most realistic story I've ever read about a man who can drill his head into the ground. Exactly. You are talking about big social and interpersonal relationship issues in 12 and 15-cent comic books that were for children. And they were comics. And they're characters that if you get down to it, oh gee, this is one of the most socially relevant stories that involved Ant-Man. Thank you. I think with that, I'll get off my little soapbox here and I'll say I love you all, and I will see you all next time. Face front, true believers.